Hello, and welcome to this morning's In the Spotlight, where we shine a light on entrepreneurs, SMEs, and innovators. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and this morning we have with us Vivian Wall, inclusive designer and cheerleader founder from Motionspot. Hi, Vivian, how are you today?
Hi, Maxine. Happy Friday. I'm doing amazing. I'm
Oh,
really
that
excited to be here.
Oh, do you know, I am so excited. I am going to do a shout out to on Sally Undercastle
Auntie
so
Sal, yeah,
promptly.
for
Yeah,
connecting us.
because she's the one that actually connected us, and we're yet to meet in person. But I'm so delighted that you accepted to come on and talk about what it's like being a young entrepreneur. Well,
Well, yeah, it's a journey, so I'm excited to share.
all right. So I'm gonna ask you some questions, and
Mhm.
let's just delve right in with what has been your biggest achievement to date.
So, I mean, my biggest achievement to date starts to speak upon my values of connecting with people and particularly students. So, just about 18 months after graduating from my alma mater, the University of Brighton, I was invited back to come as a lecturer for the spring and summer terms. And it was such an awesome experience to connect with them and share what it's like to do my job, which is in inclusive design, and also see how it is everyone can bring their unique interests and identities into these spaces they create. So
Mhm.
to have that opportunity after knowing what it was like to be an ambitious student myself, to go back to, I guess, the place where I began, it was just incredible.
So just tell us a little bit about your um, design. So what is inclusive design for our
So,
audience?
inclusive design, it basically, within the context of the built environment, seeks to ensure that as many and as much diversity is included into the perspectives that you create and consider when building spaces. So, we
Mm,
think about gender and diversity, racial and ethnic diversity and inclusion, neurodiversity, disability, faith, and religious belief, and so much more. The list goes on, but it's just every unique characteristic that makes you you. You want to ensure that it's represented in the spaces you create. And we also work to make sure that this is embedded from the earliest stage on. So, not when it is that you've created a space, you go and make adaptations, but from conceptualizing what it is you want to build, you have that in mind from the outset.
that's really fascinating because I remember many years ago when we were doing projects and refits of buildings, and we would actually have workplace consultants that come in, and it's all
Yeah.
around the psychology as well. And when people think about buildings and space, there's a lot that actually goes into thinking about the space, how it's going to be used, the
Yeah.
functionality as well. So it's absolutely amazing that we now have that deeper layer of what you're doing with the inclusion. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's just it's just so necessary because we all have different experiences that we want to have represented in the spaces that we use.
Yeah, for sure. So, Vivian, as a young entrepreneur, how do you plan for success?
I guess this is a question that I guess gives me jitters because it just makes me so excited. So in working to build my brand of cheerleader alongside my current role at Motionspot, there are three main steps that I'm seeking to take. So the first step is to learn as much as I possibly can. So some of it is conversations like this with
Mm,
yourself or reading tons and tons of books. So right now I'm making my way through Atomic Habits and How to Win
mm.
Friends and Influence People, and then even reading Stephen Bartlett's book Happy Sexy Millionaire, and just exposing myself to as many like perspectives and ideas as humanly possible. So that's step one. Step two is to connect with like industry leaders, professionals, experts in my field and beyond, just because what it is that someone's walked a path that you're just embarking on, I
Mm,
guess their insight is just, it's invaluable. And then the third one is to develop a really deep understanding of my audience and the people I'm seeking to serve. Because as much as I have a great idea of what I want to do and accomplish, it's so important to listen to the people that you're trying to reach and hear what they have to say. So I suppose that's my 3-step plan.
you're very wise, and it is an amazing approach, because how can you serve if you don't understand and know what the needs are? So
Precisely.
it's a really great approach. I love that. I love
Yeah. I think I suppose it stems as well from like that passion I have for inclusive design. You can't design for people unless you hear what they have to say.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Um, so here's another one now. So for you to share your words of wisdom. So what would you advise young peers embarking on their careers, either in industry or as entrepreneurs?
Okay. So I suppose the one thing that I would advise people to do is to cherish their individuality. So often when we're starting a new venture or working towards getting a job or just seeking to impress people we think that can help us along our way, we kind of change the way we present ourselves to see if it will get us a bit further along. But no one is going to take you further than your authentic self because you have something unique to bring to whatever it is you're seeking to do. So I hope that's clear enough advice, but it's
Yeah,
just cherish your individuality and the unique aspects of who you are.
that's really some great wisdom from you there. And I guess as a young entrepreneur, have you felt like any peer pressure, and how have you, if you talk a little bit about your background and how you've got to where you are now, what have been
Yeah,
influences and how have you navigated that being authentic?
yeah. I suppose why this is such a, a touch point for me and so close to my heart is because I moved from my home country of Trinidad and Tobago at the age of 19 years old to come to the UK with the original ambition to study architecture, which I did and have a degree in. And I saw that as my entire path. I saw I'd come, I'd study, I'd be an architect, and that was it. That was the end goal.
Yeah,
But from the minute that I entered, the doors of my school and started going about my education, my course, I just couldn't help but notice how different I was, just in terms of one, being an immigrant, two, having an accent, and having stories that not many people around me could relate to because I was from an entirely different circumstance.
yeah,
So it was those experiences where I tried to suppress it and adapt and reflect the behaviors of other people around me or talk about things I thought that they could relate to. Each time that I did that, it seemed to be such a great disservice to myself, but also to everyone else around me because I was removing the opportunity to exchange new ideas and learn about different experiences.
yeah.
So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it just reminded me of many years ago when I was at university, and I don't know if you found, I ended up being with a certain set of group of people through the first couple of years, and then in my third year, happened to come across some groups socially, and I remember
Yeah,
thinking to myself, why had I not? I knew them. Why had I not connected with them before? Because we're in the last six
yeah.
months of university, and they're going off.
Yeah, everyone goes their separate ways.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's so important that you don't kind of cut yourself off. It's about branching out and networking with us, and you have a story and a vision, a passion.
Yeah.
It's important to share that. Okay, so next question. What has been your biggest challenge?
So I suppose my biggest challenge does connect back to that experience of coming from a different country. I
Mm,
think I think I'll remind us all about that difficult time during the COVID-19 pandemic. So during that period, I wasn't able to see my family at all, like the rest of the world.
mm,
But I suppose it was incredibly difficult for me because I knew they were so far away. And I'm so grateful that we had this technology to connect with them.
yeah,
But that distance from the people who raised you, the context in which you grew up in, and so many of those elements that you connect to who you are,
yeah,
it just forced me to kind of create a new idea of who I am within this new space, so far away from everything that I once knew. And figuring that out is probably and still is the most difficult thing to date, because I think as you grow, you constantly have to reassess yourself. So,
mm.
yeah, finding who I am, that's the biggest challenge.
And
But
we're always learning,
yeah,
and remain open to opportunities to
for
connect.
sure, for
Um,
sure.
so you've already talked a little bit about your passion. Tell us what you're most passionate about.
I think it's education, like education, and it's kind of intertwined, education and people, because the more you learn, the better your ability to be of service is, the more confident you become in delivering that service, and the more you're able to improve upon how you deliver it because of everything you've been exposed to.
Yeah,
And then the people aspect of that is, to effectively do something, you've got to learn who it is. You have to learn everything about who it is, the people you're seeking to serve.
mm,
So I think in education, it goes beyond like formal educational institutions like schools and universities. It's kind of building upon those so-called soft skills and navigating your desires and your wants and the things that drive you in life, and learning how to implement them into your everyday so you can be of service. So it's education for sure.
yeah. Oh wow. And speaking of education, tell us about your latest venture.
So I am really at the very, very, very beginning of developing the brand that I call Cheerleader. So building upon my great passion for inclusive design, which I discovered while I was in university, what I fell in love with was the way that people were represented in spaces as a result of it. So my journey at Motionspot has really helped me develop the confidence to learn how to accurately and considerately reflect people in the things that I do. And I thought, what would it be like if I discovered this earlier on?
Mm,
What would it be like if I discovered how much I care about people, how much I care about education and connecting and learning and growing way back when? And things, maybe they'd look the same, maybe they'd look so different, but it occurred to me that I'm sure so many people have that unique interest of theirs that they probably push to the side because maybe you don't think you can make a career out of it, maybe you don't think that it's going to be useful in your life. And what it is that the aim of Cheerleader is to help people harness that unique interest and let it flow and share it with the world, whether it's in your existing job, in a career, or just in the way that you interact with people throughout your daily life.
oh, thank you for sharing that. That's just so special to have. That's just to have that vision. Oh gosh, you got me all emotional now because it's just, oh my gosh, I just absolutely so inspiring. Really an
Thank you.
inspiration. I'm going to just put down the bottom here, just so that for our viewers who can learn about Cheerleader and see what Vivian is building for the future and for future generations to come. This is going to be your legacy. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for that. So that leads us on to who inspires you and why.
So I spoke a bit about Trinidad and Tobago, my native country, my twin island republic in the sun. And as cliche as it sounds, it is my family who inspires me
Mm,
because I'm so aware that where I am and who I am today is so much of it is because of them. And a while back, on August 1st, I posted on LinkedIn about my very first traceable ancestor. His
mm,
name was George. He was an enslaved man of African descent living in Barbados. And just being aware that somebody connected to me went through that hardship, moved on, had my great great grandparents and so forth, all the way up to me. That knowledge, it just, I don't know why, but it just stirs me to my very core. Just knowing the legacy of people who came before me for where I am now, and I feel totally, I feel so indebted to them, but in the most positive way. I just want to be able to do them justice.
mm. Oh, thank you, Vivian. Um, so there's a foundation called Youth Futures Foundation, Future Voices, and they've done some recent research around the rise of the young entrepreneur. And what they were saying in this research was that they found that these entrepreneurs had an enterprising mindset from an early age. Is this true of you?
I don't think I had much of a choice in the matter.
What do
To
you
be
mean?
honest with you.
What do you mean? Tell us.
I definitely did from an early age, but I've got to give credit to my parents, Jillian and Nigel were there. I've got to give them credit because the way that they raised me was to always see the existing circumstance, appreciate it for what it is, and then see how you can improve it.
Hmm.
So I've had checklists to make sure that I effectively schedule my day since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
I Every time that I lost an item that I owned, I would have to pay for it with my own money. This is under the age of 10 years old.
Wow.
And anytime we saw someone who needed a helping hand, someone who's having a difficult day, you don't pass them straight. You stop, you ask what's happening, how can I be there for you? How can I make your day better? Even if it's a complete stranger.
Mm.
And they're also both entrepreneurs with their own companies as well.
Wow.
So I saw them balancing raising a child and building a business.
Mm.
So this is why I say I had no choice in the matter, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
And that's a great support network as well for you as you embark on your own entrepreneur journey. That's what I think there'll be a real source of wisdom and guidance to you, as well as everyone else around that are cheering you on.
Thank you.
I've
I
been
truly
recently
believe it.
listening to Who Not How and Who Not How. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And how can our audience support you in your realizing your vision and your goal?
It's
Who
a
are
great
your
question.
who's? Who are the who's that you need to propel you into this amazing bright future that you have?
There. That's a great question. That's because when it is that you look at the world around you, the entrepreneurs, and how connected we are, there are countless people I could name. And I've already named two, I guess, my parents, who have been a very great foundation. And I've got to acknowledge the role that they've played and the
Mm.
support they've provided in bringing me to this stage. But outside of, I guess, familiar connections, the three who's that come to mind, the first one would be, are you familiar with Lauren Wasser?
No, I'm
So
not. Tell me.
I was listening to Stephen Bartlett's podcast, The Diary of a CEO, the other day, and she was on it sharing her experience of what it was like losing both of her legs to toxic shock syndrome. And listening to her story highlighted so many things that, one, I'm passionate about, but all the changes that we need to see in the world.
Yeah.
One, in terms of inclusive design, but instead of within the built environment, she's speaking about it within the context of a product because it was toxic shock syndrome due to a tampon that
Oh,
resulted in
no.
this. So it raises its use of women's health. And then she also shared what it's like moving around a world that is not meant, if it is your body, is different to everyone else's. If it is that you do have a disability, how it is that you move around the world is totally different to someone who does not. So I would love the opportunity to just meet with her one day. I guess she shared so openly about her story. She's very well known. She's been a model on the cover of Vogue, but it's just what she's doing and the way she's campaigning
Yeah.
it lights a fire and makes you want to go all in. So that's her. And then of course, Stephen Bartlett, because that's where I heard about her and the podcast. I guess, yeah. It's
One
just
more.
because
Is there
there's so many
any
people.
other who's?
And then the last person, I'll throw in a Caribbean leader in the mix, Mia Motley.
Mm.
So Mia Motley is the Prime Minister of Barbados, and she is just setting such a fantastic example for leaders all around the world in terms of how to lead with compassion, how to lead with grace, dignity, and authenticity, because she's the one of the very first openly gay Caribbean leaders, which is such an important stance for young people looking up to see that representation. And also, as a female leader with a powerful voice, she inspires me daily. I would love to meet Mia Motley as well. So, anybody who knows these people,
Reach
yeah,
out to Vivian.
reach out.
And I guess there's another message. There's another message in what you're describing, because as entrepreneurs, it can sometimes be quite a lonely road. And what's really important is to recognize you're not alone. There's people. You just have to ask and reach out, and
Yeah,
there's people that will come, support, connect. It's just being brave and having that courage and being
it is.
bold as well. Learn about being bold and being brave and courageous. And it doesn't matter how old they are, what they've achieved. You just have to ask. And there's always
Yeah,
somebody that knows there's always somebody that knows somebody in a network somewhere. They talk about those degrees of separation. They're
yeah, six
smaller than
degrees
you
of
think. Yeah,
separation. It's
I think
true.
it's smaller than 6 degrees, to be fair, from what I'm
Yeah,
experiencing. Yeah. So we've talked about inspiration. We've talked about some of your challenges, and what's the next few years look like for you? Because I know that
the
you've
next.
probably got it mapped out.
So over the next few years, I will be practicing what I shared earlier in terms of following my little three-step plan for success. I will just continue learning as much as I can. So that's about everything I'm doing in my current role, learning how to be a better inclusive designer and be more connected to the people that it is that we are serving at Motionspot and seeking to have represented in everything that we do. Learning more about students and university experiences. So through Cheerleader, I'm better able to serve that younger audience and reassure them that they are definitely in charge of their parts and they can do what it is that they set their minds to. I will be connecting with as many professionals, leaders, experts as I absolutely can, learning from them as much as I can, volunteering wherever I can. And then I will just lastly continue to listen and hear what people have to say to make sure that every act of service is doing just that and is serving instead of me just sharing an idea. I just want to make sure that I'm doing well by the people around me.
Oh, that's just so inspirational. You really are. Honestly. So, Vivian, if people in the audience want to reach out to you, either to offer you a connection or support with building Cheerleader, recommendations, how can we get hold of you?
So the best places to find me that I'm most active on would be LinkedIn at Vivian Wall. And for people who are interested in seeing a bit more behind the scenes, I share very openly as well on my Instagram on what it's like being an ambitious young professional fledgling entrepreneur and just human being navigating this experience. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Vivian Wall and Instagram at It's Vivian Wall.
Thank you so much. Today has been an absolute eye-opener and also encouraging that despite our economic climate, despite everything that's going on, there's entrepreneurs like yourself still going out there, still addressing those big problems and finding solutions to those big problems, and just doing it with such poise and such grace. Honestly, I'm in awe of you. I've been inspired today, and oh my gosh, just keep doing what you're doing, keep serving, and just keep continuing to be your amazing, authentic self. I feel that I've been blessed today to have you on the spotlight. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for creating this space. I will continue to tune in and receive inspiration from your activities myself. So I'm really grateful for that. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. I cherish this opportunity. I really do.
Oh, Vivian, thank you so much. Just to our audience, we've been talking with Vivian Wall from Motionspot, inclusive designer and Cheerleader founder, on the Spotlight series. Thank you so much, and we will be seeing you around. If you, so you've got the connections. Follow Vivian with her on her journey. Vivian, last word from you.
Just cherish your individuality. Just be confident in what it is you have, even on the days where it's hard to do so. And trust that whatever it is that you have to bring, there's a place for it in the world. I know it. So thank you again, Maxine.
Take care.
Bye.